Huh? You been here?
Well, yeah. I moved in a week ago and have been living in this house. I'll take the bedroom you were using on the second floor, so you can use the storage room on the first floor or the unused room on the third floor.
What? I wasn't informed about this. What do you mean?
The head of the household has given his permission, so I don't need to get yours. The person paying the rent gets to make all the decisions.
Huh? I had to ask again, but I'm not hallucinating, right?
Why is my mother-in-law living here? I don't understand. It was stressful enough having her visit every week, but living together is out of the question. Sure, my mother-in-law lives alone, and she is getting on in years. Something could happen, and maybe my husband is worried, but it's unacceptable to start living together without consulting me first. Whose house do they think this is? I wanted to say. And my husband, too. This level of presumption is just too much.
Hello? When I got back, your mom was here. What's this about living together?
What do you mean? It's exactly as you see. There's nothing wrong with it, right?
It is wrong. Why wasn't I consulted?
There's no need to consult you. I've said it before, but I'm the one paying the rent. Shouldn't you be following my decision? I was so astonished I couldn't say anything. So, he's serious about this. All right, if that's how it's gonna be, then keep saying it. But it seems he's forgotten something important. Does he even remember who we're renting this house from? I won't let him forget just the convenient things. I grabbed the suitcase I had brought on my business trip and went back to my parents' house. My name is Sarah, I'm 32 years old. Currently, I work for an IT company as an engineer, which provides me with a decent income and fulfilling work, allowing me to enjoy my days.
Great job today.
Huh? You're leaving already? We were planning to go out for drinks today, wanna join? I have plans already today. Could you invite me next time? Is it a guy thing?
Well, yeah.
Work was fun, and I had a boyfriend who I've been dating for 6 months. My private life was so fulfilling that I really lived a rosy life with absolutely nothing to complain about.
You're busy, right? Thanks for making the time for me. It's totally fine. Of course, I'd make time for my loved one. Thanks.
I met my current boyfriend through a friend's introduction, and he's a really nice guy who cares a lot about me. I went to a science university, so my student life was really busy, far from any romantic involvements. Even after starting my job, there was something new to learn every day, and I was so busy that I didn't have a boyfriend. But, just before my 20s ended, I got a boyfriend, and it felt like I was gonna marry him. Life was in rosy mode. I truly enjoyed every day from the bottom of my heart.
About the future. Talking about marriage?
Yeah.
I've been thinking about going to greet your parents.
Of course. Once work settles down, I'm gonna propose. Can you wait a bit longer?
Yeah.
I might have rushed him a bit, but I could clearly see a future where we'd get married and be happy together, and I think I spent my days grinning about it. And so, 6 months later, we got married. My parents paid for the wedding and provided us with a new home. My parents run a business and offered us one of their investment properties to use. He wanted to send money back home since he came from a single-parent family, and in that regard, my parents were supportive.
About the rent, are they letting us live here for free?
No.
They're asking for $4,000. Normally, they'd rent this place out for much more, so they're giving us a special deal.
What? They're charging us? Even though it's their daughter and son-in-law living here. I'm surprised.
Well, it's an investment property, so there are costs involved. My parents aren't really making a profit from this. We can't ask them to cover the maintenance costs for us, can we?
No, given they have the money, I think they could at least do that for us. I was a bit surprised by my husband's comment. Indeed, my parents run a business, so they have some financial leeway. However, I'm already independent and can take care of my own life. I think it wouldn't be a big deal for my parents to lend us the house for free, but it's wrong to rely entirely on them for money just because we're their children. As business owners, my parents have always been strict about money matters, and that's why I work and live on my own.
Well, living in such a spacious house. They said they're gonna transfer the ownership to us in the future. To expect to live here without paying anything, that's really something.
He's quite stingy, huh?
If they're making money as business owners, I think they could afford to do that much. Well, if I were in your parents' position, I'd let my child live there for free.
That's why, haven't I explained it several times? Why can't you understand? I wanted to say, but for my husband, who expected to live in a large single-family home for free, paying $4,000 every month must seem like a huge burden. Well, expecting to live for free just because it's my parents' property is quite presumptuous.
Can't they lower it to about $3,000? What? Lower it further? I already told you it would normally cost twice as much.
Even so, they could lower it a bit, right?
Come on, it's your parents, so you should be able to negotiate that much.
What are you saying?
It's exactly because they're my parents that I don't want to be rude. If you had any gratitude, you wouldn't be able to negotiate for a lower rent, right?
Seriously, aren't you grateful at all for how cheap they've made it? They even said we could move out anytime we want. If we choose to stay and live here long term, they're willing to transfer the ownership to us. Despite their cooperative attitude. I couldn't understand what my husband was saying. How can he say such brazen things so casually? Thinking only about himself must be exactly what this is.
It seems like he thought they were gonna let us live here for free. So, he thinks even $4,000 is too much. I see, well, $4,000 is really pushing it, but the lowest I can go is $3,600. You don't have to lower it any further. Showing him that we're willing to compromise to that extent might make him understand. Plus, with the $400 saved, we can send more money home. His family is a single-parent household, right? Yeah. Well, we're okay, and since you're newlyweds, you'll have various expenses. So don't worry. Just focus on your marriage.
Thanks to my father's kindness, I was able to stand my ground somewhat with my husband, and he finally agreed to the rent of $3,600. Since then, we've been living without much issue, and we basically decided that my husband would pay the rent while I would cover the other living expenses. We also bought a car for the family, and since the savings payments were coming out of my money, my husband had more disposable income. But I wasn't much of a spender, and we generally had a good life together, but
my mom will be arriving in about 30 minutes, so let's hurry up and finish cleaning.
Huh? What?
You're not going to clean even though my mom is coming? No, it's not that, but why didn't you tell me sooner? It's so sudden.
I didn't necessarily mind his mother coming over, but why didn't he tell me earlier? If I had known sooner, I would have cleaned the house and finished the chores earlier. We don't even have tea. Maybe he didn't think because it's his parent, but if anyone's going to be looked at strangely, it's going to be me. Why can't he think that far ahead? I sighed, but it's too late to be thinking about that now.
I'll start cleaning now, so you help too.
That's a hassle, you do it.
I finally have a day off from work, let me rest. No, but your mother is almost here, isn't she?
You can do it, right? I've been busy lately. No, what? What is he saying? He tells me his mother is coming over and wants me to clean, but he won't help at all? I was already irritated by such a sudden request, and now I'm about to lose it with his selfishness. I want to finish cleaning quickly because we're in a hurry.
No, you want me to do it all? That's not fair. No, you're the wife, you should be able to handle it. Why do I always have to say it? Don't forget I'm taking care of you?
Taking care of me. Who does he think he is? I'm not under the impression that I'm being taken care of by my husband. Sure, he pays the rent, but I'm the one covering the living expenses. If you look at the expenses, I'm paying more, so I don't understand why he's talking down to me like this. But arguing about it now is a waste of time. What I need to do is get as much cleaning done as possible, right now. Seeing my husband lounging on the sofa watching TV while I'm frantically cleaning was infuriating, but I managed to get the cleaning done to a decent standard before his mother arrived. I'm coming in. It's been a while. How have you been? I'm not old enough to need your concern. I'm sorry, that's not what I meant. Oh, is that so? No, am I being perceived as someone who would say such snide remarks? Well, this isn't the first time dealing with my mother-in-law's personality. I guess she cherishes her son a lot because they're from a single-parent family, but I've always thought her affection was a bit extreme. Even when we went to greet her for our marriage, she looked at me as if I was a woman marrying up, not really trying to build a good relationship with me. Not that I particularly wanted to be close to her, but it feels unnecessary for her to openly dislike me this much. I haven't done anything wrong to my mother-in-law. Nor have I been unreasonable. What does she have against me? Well, my husband also says unreasonable things to me, so coming from such a mother, I guess it's somewhat expected. You know, I've been thinking, aren't your chores a bit half done? It's not like it's a hoarder's house, but I think you could keep it cleaner, couldn't you?
I guess so. I've been trying my best, but I also have a job every day, so I can't spend that much time on it. I was a single parent too, but I managed to keep the house clean. No need for excuses.
No. I'm not making excuses. I've genuinely been busy lately, with tasks from work that didn't get finished at the office and had to be done at home. If a system we're developing has an error, it needs to be fixed before the deadline. If we don't make the fix in time, it would be a big problem. I wish she wouldn't complain without understanding anything about my job. And to say one thing, they were living on welfare. My mother-in-law isn't working, so her situation isn't much different from a stay-at-home mom. Even as a single parent, she had more time, so naturally, she should have been able to do the household chores. Comparing me to that is wrong. And, since we both work, instead of blaming just me, how about blaming her son who doesn't do anything besides his job? I didn't intend to fight with my mother-in-law, but being criticized right after she visits made me quite irritated. Maybe you shouldn't say that? Besides, I'm the only one doing the chores around here, so it's tough. That sounded a bit sarcastic, didn't it? Well, but I think she won't understand unless I say it like that. Huh? You can't be thinking of making your husband do chores? I would like him to help, but the reality is, he doesn't. You're the wife, so it's only natural for you to do the housework. And I heard that my son is the one paying the rent. So, it's only logical for you to do at least that much. Who do you think is the breadwinner of the house? If you can't even understand such hierarchy, you shouldn't have gotten married. That's why I was against the marriage. Huh? I was so flabbergasted I couldn't find the words. Is she serious? I wish she would stop joking around. It's absurd for her to butt into someone else's family matters. Talking to such a person is a waste of time and only uses up energy. I just nodded along and showed her into the living room. Hey, how about we have seafood today? There's a nice place at Fisherman's Wharf. Wow, that sounds great. Let's treat ourselves to a nice meal for a change. Sarah? We'll be waiting at home, so could you take out seafood for everyone? Oh, and add some mussels and fatty lobster for me. So, I'm being made to run errands again. And neither of them even pretends to reach for their wallets. They expect me to pay, I suppose. Well, I can see complaining about money would only bring more complaints. Besides, I'd rather get out for a walk than stay in this house, so it works out. Still, the thought of splurging on expensive seafood for them is infuriating, but it's not worth dwelling on. With that in mind, I headed to the place. Upon returning home with the seafood. You took quite some time. I wish you would consider the people waiting. Ha. She had no words to thank me for purchasing it. She's like a complaint machine, effortlessly churning out grievances. I almost admire the ability to find fault in everything. I was tempted to retort sarcastically, but I restrained myself and took a seat instead. The day dragged on lazily until the evening, when the two of them went out for dinner. I wasn't invited, but really, what rude people. The two of them came back and spent the evening drinking in the living room, and in the end, my mother-in-law decided to stay the night. We had separate bedrooms, so it wasn't too much of an issue, but I was still taken aback by the lack of courtesy. She left the next day, but my day off was ruined, and I was left feeling quite stressed. After that, my mother-in-law started visiting our house almost every week. I don't know if she's coming to make snide remarks at me or just to see her beloved son, but either way, I was living in a state of constant stress. Hey, I'm going to be on a business trip for a week starting next week. So, I'm counting on you to take care of the house. What? A business trip? Why are you suddenly going on a business trip? There's a presentation for a system I developed, and I was involved as the main developer. The business trip wasn't a lie, but I was a little excited to have some time to myself for a change. Every week, facing complaints about housekeeping, meals, and my role as a wife from my mother-in-law. No matter how busy, my husband claims to be the breadwinner and refuses to help with any household chores. I was so fed up with such a life that I headed to the business trip planning to refresh myself. The presentation for the new system was nerve-wracking and more exhausting than my usual job, but for 1 week, without anyone complaining, I felt truly at ease. After the business trip was over, I returned home to find.
Huh? You're here?
Well, yes. I moved in a week ago and have been living here.
I'll take the bedroom you were using on the second floor, so you can use the storage room on the first floor or the unused room on the third floor. What? I wasn't told about this. What do you mean? The head of the household has given his permission, so there's no need for me to get yours. The person paying the rent decides everything.
Huh? I had to ask again, but I'm not hallucinating, right? Why is my mother-in-law living here? I don't understand. Just her visiting every week was stressful enough, but living together is out of the question. Sure, my mother-in-law lives alone, and she is of a certain age. Something might happen, and maybe my husband is worried, but starting to live together without consulting me is unacceptable. Who do they think this house belongs to? I wanted to say. And my husband, too. Such presumption is truly unforgivable.
Hello? When I came back, your mom was here. What's this about living together?
What do you mean?
It's just as you see. There's nothing wrong with it, right? That's ridiculous. Why wasn't I consulted?
There's no need to consult you.
I've said it multiple times, but I'm the one paying the rent here. Shouldn't you be following my decision?
I was so astounded I couldn't say anything. So, he's seriously saying that. Alright, if that's how it's going to be, then keep saying it. But it seems he's forgotten something important. Does he even realize who we're renting this house from? I won't let him forget just the convenient parts. I grabbed the suitcase I had brought on my business trip and went back to my parents' house.
It's like that, he just moved his mother in without asking me. Don't you think that's strange?
Yeah.
Has he been mistreating you like this all along? I didn't tell you because I thought it would worry you, and everyone said this was normal, so I kept quiet, but I can't take it anymore.
Right. I understand, then, I have a plan, my father said before making a phone call. From that day, I started living at my parents' house and didn't contact my husband for a week. Then came Saturday. My father and I went to the house where my husband and mother-in-law were living. When we rang the doorbell, my husband, who looked like he had just woken up, came out and frowned upon seeing my father and me.
Huh?
Here.
Can you submit this divorce paper? What? Wait, what do you mean? I know everything you and your mother have been doing. Stop playing dumb.
My father said, glaring at my husband, who seemed a bit intimidated. He completely cowered and wouldn't meet my eyes. But I continued talking to my husband.
You both have been bullying me. Don't think you can get away with it. No, there's no need for a divorce. We don't have to go that far.
So, what do you think you've done so far?
Acting all high and mighty, and now getting cold feet as I mention a divorce.
What do you take me for? I'm not usually the type to get so emotional and yell, but I think my husband was shocked by my outburst. But it was proof of how much anger I had accumulated.
My daughter's words will certainly be heard, and from now on, you'll be paying the full rent for this house. I have no intention of giving any discounts to my daughter and a stranger anymore.
Huh?
This house will not be $3,600 next month, but $36,000. Got it? I've brought the contract, so submit the divorce papers and then agree this contract as well. When we said that, my husband was so shocked he seemed lost for words.
The figure of $36,000 must have floored him, but we were dead serious.
How can you suddenly expect such an amount? That's crazy! It's impossible!
Huh? You think you can say it's impossible?
No, but we didn't even have a formal contract for this house, did we? Once we're divorced and you're a stranger, you can't keep living here. If you can't pay the rent for this house, you should leave immediately.
We hadn't signed a contract, so we were able to leave strongly. Of course, my husband had never imagined things would turn out like this. But regretting it now is too late. He needs to take full responsibility for his actions. We remained firm, unshaken by my husband's refusal, but then my mother-in-law, who had overheard the commotion, came out from behind.
What's all this noise about? Long time no see. To cut to the chase, this house belongs to me, so please leave. I'm having my daughter divorce you, and I have no intention of letting strangers live here.
Huh?
Leave! What are you talking about? Don't say such ridiculous things.
Who exactly is being ridiculous here?
And if you want to justify your actions, feel free to take it to court.
Court! Hearing the word court, my mother-in-law and husband were surprised, but this was all part of the plan I had discussed with my father. If these two caused trouble and there was no other way, we planned to take legal action. This was my suggestion, knowing that people without common sense wouldn't understand reasonable discussions. But precisely because they lack common sense, the moment we mentioned a lawyer, both were visibly shaken. Where did all their bravado go? They exchanged glances, eyes swimming in panic. I guessed they were probably flustered.
You have a job, so you can just move closer to your workplace. That's all there is to it, right? I'm saying this because I don't have that kind of money. Don't have the money? You've got to be kidding. Given your salary, you should be able to save some amount. Are you telling me you've been blowing over $2,000 a month on fun? Well, I never thought I needed to save.
I was dumbfounded. He had a regular job, and the only expense he was covering was the rent. I was the one paying for the car and all other living expenses, so I had thought he would have saved up a bit more. He's really joking around.
That's why we can't get divorced and moving out. Right. Once you're married, it's not that easy to just get divorced. How long are you going to stick with such outdated ideas? I have no hesitation in divorcing someone as unreasonable and self-centered as you two. Are you even aware of what you've done?
Who's the one joking here? Please don't make me any angrier than I already am. They don't seem to understand how much they have put me through. So they can casually say they don't want a divorce or ask for help because they're broke. That's not my problem. And now that I think about it, maybe my husband married me for my money. Not me, but my parents' money since they run a company. He could live in a large mansion cheaply, and eventually, I would inherit my parents' substantial fortune. He must have been aiming for that, but I wish he'd stop underestimating people.
Don't forget we'll have the upper hand if this goes to court. You have 1 week to leave this house. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I'll do anything, just give me another chance. I believe we can make it work. I might have misunderstood some things, but we're a married couple. We promise to overcome anything together. That's why we're getting divorced. You can't just continue a marriage with pretty words. And after betraying me, don't think you still have my trust. I will never trust you again. As I said before, we have a great lawyer on our side. Of course, you're welcome to hire your own lawyer for negotiation, but I advise against it, especially since you can't even afford to move out.
My father's point is valid. Without money for moving out, hiring a lawyer is out of the question. Even if they did hire a lawyer, getting my husband divorced and out of the house would be straightforward. That's all. I have no intention of discussing this with you any further. With that, I returned to my parents' house with my father. I had already blocked his phone number, so there were no calls, but my husband and mother-in-law kept contacting me using email, messenger, and social media messaging. I was truly disappointed and dumbfounded that they didn't understand what I was saying, but I stuck to ignoring them. I had communicated our side, and if they wouldn't comply, then we'd just have to have a lawyer handle it. Since we had strong backing, I wasn't worried at all. By the way, what happened after that? Well, tomorrow is the deadline we set, so I told them if the divorce and moving out aren't completed by then, we'd call the lawyer. Then, this evening, they contacted me to say they'd filed the divorce papers at the city court and had packed up to move out. They said they'd bring the keys here. I see. I'll take care of it then. You probably don't want to see their faces. That's right. Thanks, Dad. Thanks to my father handling the key handover, I was able to avoid seeing those two. From what I heard through mutual acquaintances, those two were living a miserable life. My mother-in-law, having no job and unable to sustain a living, had initially moved with him to a business hotel for the first few days before settling into a very cheap, bathless apartment, starting a life together that was stress-filled every day compared to the quality of life they had before. Seemingly endless parental quarrels ensued. Well, but he has a job, so it's not like they're luxury problems, right? From what I heard, he's been spending recklessly due to stress, borrowing money from acquaintances. Really? Is that so? So, they've been pretty much abandoned by their friends, wondering how they'll live from now on. Without money and having to take care of his mother. I doubt anyone would marry someone like that. Well, people of that age who don't know how to manage money probably shouldn't marry for everyone's sake. Thinking about them being abandoned by their friends felt truly pitiful, but this could be a good opportunity for them to acknowledge what they've done and rehabilitate. As for me, I found a place to live on my own after that, and now I'm happily living there, enjoying my days. Work is going well, with significant projects that give me a sense of fulfillment, and my relationship with my parents is great. Whether I'll remarry in the future is uncertain, but for now, I'm enjoying my life. No matter how much money one might have, ultimately, relationships are what matter. If you can build healthy and good relationships, you can live happily even without money. I hope to continue living my life valuing fulfillment, friends, and family without being obsessed with money.